drift into peaceful dreams with Little Red Riding Hood's gentle forest adventure. The first sunbeam to enter the room sneaks in on tiptoe. It slides across the wooden floor, climbs up the leg of a little rocking chair, and finally rests on a small, sleeping face. The little girl stirs, her eyelashes fluttering against her rosy cheeks. A soft sigh escapes her lips, like a tiny cloud of warmth in the cool morning air. This is Little Red. She's called that because of the beautiful cherry-red hooded cloak her grandmother made for her, a cloak she wears almost everywhere. But right now, it's hanging neatly on a peg by her door. Slowly, Little Red's eyes open. They're the color of warm chocolate. For a moment, she just blinks, watching dust motes dance like tiny fairies in the sunbeam. A smile touches her lips. Outside her window, the world is starting to sing its morning song. A little bluebird lands on the windowsill and chirps a cheerful, "Good morning, good morning." Little Red giggles, a sound as soft as wind chimes. She pushes back the heavy quilt, the fabric whispering as it moves. Her feet, in their fuzzy bunny slippers, find the cool wood of the floor. She stretches her arms high above her head, reaching for the ceiling, her back arching in a long, satisfying stretch. Yawning one last time, she shuffles to her window and pushes it open wider. The air that rushes in is sweet and clean, smelling of damp earth, jasmine, and the promise of a beautiful day. She takes a deep, happy breath, filling her lungs with the scent of the morning. Downstairs, she can hear her mother moving around in the kitchen, the gentle clinking and clanking of familiar, comforting sound. The smell of baking bread and simmering oatmeal is already drifting up the stairs, a delicious invitation to start the day. Little Red gets dressed, choosing a simple yellow dress that looks like a captured sunbeam. And of course, she drapes her favorite red cloak over it, pulling the soft hood up over her brown hair. She pads down the stairs, her hand sliding along the smooth banister. In the kitchen, her mother is humming a cheerful tune, her face lit by the warm glow of the hearth. "Good morning, my little sunbeam," her mother says, turning to kiss her forehead. "Good morning, Mama," Little Red replies, her voice still a bit sleepy. She climbs onto her favorite stool at the big wooden table where a bowl of warm oatmeal, swirled with honey and dotted with fresh berries, is already waiting. She eats slowly, savoring each spoonful and feeling the warmth spread through her. The kitchen is a happy place, filled with love and the comforting sounds of home, the ticking of the old clock in the hall, the crackle of the fire, and her mother's gentle humming. After breakfast, her mother takes a large wicker basket from a shelf. "Little Red," she says, her voice soft and kind, "your grandmother is feeling a little under the weather today. I thought we could send her something to cheer her up." Into the basket goes a loaf of freshly baked bread, still warm and wrapped in a clean linen cloth. Next to it, a small pot of sweet butter and a jar of shimmering strawberry jam. Then she adds 3 perfect, golden-crusted apple tarts from the pantry, and finally, a small bouquet of wildflowers Little Red had picked the day before. The basket is heavy now, filled with goodness and love. "Will you take this to her for me?" her mother asks, tying the cloth on top with a bright yellow ribbon. "Remember the way, be careful on the path, and go straight to Grandma's house. She'll be so happy to see you." Little Red's face lights up. She loves visiting her grandmother, whose cottage on the other side of the woods is a magical place filled with stories and warm hugs. Of course, Mama, she says, her voice full of excitement. She carefully takes the heavy basket in both hands. It feels important, like she's been given a very special mission. Her mother walks her to the door, gives her a big warm hug that smells of cinnamon and flour, and kisses her on both cheeks. "Be a good girl," she whispers. "I will," Little Red promises. With a cheerful wave, she steps out of the cottage and onto the little path leading toward the great green forest. The morning adventure has begun. At first, the path is a familiar friend. It's a simple dirt trail, worn smooth by her own small feet, winding through a meadow dotted with yellow buttercups and sleepy-eyed daisies. The air hums with the busy sound of bees, and butterflies with wings like stained glass flit from flower to flower. Little Red hums along with them, a happy, tuneless song. The basket is a pleasant weight in her arms, a reminder of her loving task. But as she walks, the familiar meadow starts to change. The trees, which had stood far apart, begin to crowd closer, their branches reaching out as if to welcome her. The bright, open sunlight becomes soft and dappled, filtering through a thick canopy of leaves. It paints shifting patterns on the forest floor, like a secret, silent language. Little Red has entered the woods. And this is no ordinary wood. It's a magical place. Little Red has always known it. She can feel it in the air, a quiet, humming energy, like the forest itself is breathing. The trees here are ancient and wise, their bark covered in soft, green moss that feels like velvet, their leaves whispering secrets to the wind. Little Red slows down, her eyes wide with wonder. The forest is waking up, just as she did. A sleepy badger pokes his striped nose out from a burrow, blinks at her, and then disappears back into the dark with a soft snuffle. High above, a family of squirrels chatters, their bushy tails twitching as they chase each other from branch to branch. Little Red waves at them, and she's sure one of them waves back. The path ahead is now a soft carpet of fallen pine needles that makes her footsteps silent and springy, like she's walking on a cloud. The air grows cooler, smelling rich and loamy, a perfume of damp earth, pine, and 1,000 hidden flowers. She passes by ferns uncurling in delicate spirals and mushrooms growing in colorful clusters, some brilliant red with white spots, others a soft, glowing blue. She knows not to touch them, but she loves to look at their strange and beautiful shapes. She comes to a place where the trees part, revealing a small, sun-drenched clearing. It's a secret meadow, a circle of emerald green grass surrounded by towering trees, and it's filled with thousands and thousands of wildflowers. There are bluebells ringing with silent music, fiery red poppies, and delicate white flowers that look like fallen stars. The sight is so beautiful it takes her breath away. She gently sets her basket down and steps into the sea of flowers. The petals brush against her dress as she walks. She closes her eyes and spins around slowly, her red cloak flaring out around her. She feels like a flower herself, a single red petal in a field of 1,000 colors. She laughs, a sound of pure joy that rings through the quiet clearing. A beautiful monarch butterfly, its wings the color of a sunset, lands gently on her outstretched finger. It stays for just a moment before fluttering away. "Goodbye," Little Red whispers after it. After her dance, she picks up her basket and continues on. The path leads her to a babbling brook where the water is so clear she can see every smooth stone on the bottom. It sings a gentle, burbling song as it tumbles over the rocks. Instead of wading through, she spots a bridge made from a single fallen log, carpeted in soft green moss. She carefully walks across, balancing with her arms out, pretending she's a tightrope walker in a magical circus. On the other side of the brook, the forest becomes even more enchanting. The sunbeams piercing the leaves are thicker now, like solid pillars of golden light. Little Red calls them sunbeam ladders. She loves to play a game where she tries to step only on the patches of sunlight, leaping from one to the next. She calls it the sunbeam dance. She leaps from a golden circle to a long, bright stripe, her red cloak swirling behind her. 1, 2, 3, she whispers, hopping to a new spot of light. 4, 5, 6, the sunbeam tricks. The forest seems to play along. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves, making the patterns of light shift and dance with her, as if the entire forest is her dance partner. She laughs as she trips and lands in a patch of shadow. "You win this time, forest," she says with a grin, before starting her game again. This journey isn't just a walk, it's a conversation with the world, a joyful celebration of being alive in such a magical place. She wanders deeper and deeper into the woods, so deep that the trees now stand like the tall pillars of a great green cathedral. The air is hushed and still. The sunbeam dance has tired her out, so she finds a mossy patch at the base of an ancient oak tree to rest for a moment. She sets down her heavy basket with a happy sigh. The sounds of the forest are different here, quieter, more mysterious. The cheerful chirping of birds has given way to the soft hoot of a distant owl. As she sits there, she hears a new sound. A sound that doesn't quite belong. It's a low, rumbling sound, followed by a heavy sigh. It sounds sad. Little Red's curiosity, which is as big and bright as her cloak, is sparked. She stands up slowly, her heart beating just a little bit faster. She peers around the giant trunk of the oak. There, in a small hollow, sits a very large wolf. But he isn't like the wolves from the scary stories. Those wolves were always snarling with wicked teeth. This wolf is just sitting there, his great, shaggy head resting on his paws. His fur is the color of smoke, and his shoulders are slumped with a heavy sadness. His amber-colored eyes are fixed on the ground, and every so often, another one of those deep, rumbling sighs shudders through him. For just a second, Little Red feels a prickle of fear. He is very big. But then she looks again. She sees the droop of his ears, the sad curve of his mouth, and the lonely look in his eyes. Her fear just melts away, replaced by something much warmer, compassion. He doesn't look scary. He just looks terribly lonely. Taking a quiet breath, Little Red steps out from behind the tree. The wolf's head shoots up, his ears perking in surprise. He shrinks back a little, as if he's the one who's frightened. "Hello," Little Red says, her voice a soft whisper. The wolf blinks. He opens his mouth, but only a small, nervous ahem comes out. He clears his throat, a sound like tumbling rocks, and tries again. Hello," he says. His voice is deep and gravelly, but it's also quiet and hesitant. Not a roar, but a shy rumble. I heard you sighing, Little Red says, taking another small step. You sounded sad. Are you all right? The wolf looks down at his paws again, embarrassed. Oh, it's nothing, he mumbles into his fur. Just a bit of a lonely day. A lonely day? Little Red asks, tilting her head. Why are you lonely? The wolf sighs again. Well, he begins softly, it's not easy being a wolf. The other animals, they see my big teeth and hear my deep voice, and they run away before I can even say hello. They think I'm big and bad, like in the stories. He looks up at her, his amber eyes filled with sadness. But I'm not bad. I just wish I had a friend. Little Red's heart aches for him. She knows what it feels like to be misunderstood. She looks at the big, sad wolf, and she doesn't see a monster. She sees a gentle heart wrapped in a big, furry coat. She walks right up and sits down on the moss beside him. The wolf watches her, his eyes wide with disbelief. You're not running away? He asks, his voice full of wonder. Why would I run away? Little Red asks simply. You haven't done anything scary. You just look like you need a friend. She smiles at him, a warm and genuine smile. Then she does something very brave and very kind. She reaches into her basket and pulls out one of the golden-crusted apple tarts. She holds it out to him. My name is Little Red, she says. Would you like to share an apple tart with me? The great wolf stares at the tart, then back at her face. A single, large tear wells up in his eye and rolls down his furry cheek. No one had ever offered to share anything with him before. He carefully, gently, takes the tart from her hand with his big teeth, so softly that he doesn't even leave a mark. He takes a small bite. His eyes close, and a look of pure bliss crosses his face. This is the most delicious thing I have ever tasted, he whispers. I'm glad you like it, Little Red says, breaking off a piece for herself. They sit there together, in the quiet heart of the forest, sharing the apple tart. The silence between them is no longer sad or lonely. It's a comfortable, peaceful silence, the kind that only good friends can share. After he's finished the last crumb, the wolf's voice sounds stronger, full of a quiet happiness instead of sorrow. My name, he says, is Winston. It's very nice to meet you, Winston, Little Red says with a smile. And in that moment, a most unexpected and wonderful friendship began to bloom. With the last crumbs of the apple tart gone, a comfortable quiet settles between them. Winston gives a little shake, as if shaking off the last of his sadness. He sits up taller, and the droop in his ears is gone. For the first time, a real smile touches his wolfish features. So, he says, his deep voice now holding a note of cheerful curiosity. A little girl in a beautiful red cloak, carrying a basket of delicious things. Where are you off to this morning? I'm going to my grandmother's cottage on the other side of the forest, Little Red explains. She's not feeling very well, so I'm bringing her some treats. Winston's ears perk up. Grandmother's cottage. I know that one. The cozy little house with the blue door. He wags his big, bushy tail. That's quite a long walk for someone so small. Would you mind if I walked with you? I know all the best paths. His voice is hopeful, a little shy, as if he's still afraid she might say no. Little Red's face breaks into a wide grin. I would love that, Winston. I was getting a little tired of walking all by myself. So, they set off together. Little Red picks up her basket, which feels much lighter now that she has a friend to share the journey. Winston trots happily beside her, his big paws making almost no sound. He's a wonderful guide, leading her away from tangled brambles and onto paths that are smooth and clear. He shows her things she's never noticed before. He points with his nose to a tiny hummingbird nest, no bigger than a thimble. He shows her a patch of wild mint, and she crushes a few leaves in her palm to release their cool, fresh scent. He introduces her to a grumpy-looking but friendly old tortoise named Sheldon, who is slowly making his way across the path. They wait patiently for him to pass, and Sheldon gives them a slow nod of thanks. As they walk, they talk. Little Red tells Winston about her cozy cottage and her grandmother's stories. Winston tells her about the forest, how to know it's going to rain by the way the pine cones close up, and where to find the sweetest wild blackberries. He isn't a big, bad wolf. He's a gentle guardian of the woods. They come to another clearing filled with feathery moss. This is one of my favorite places, Winston says. The Whispering Clearing. Why is it called that? Little Red asks. Listen, Winston says softly. Little Red stands very still. At first, she hears nothing but the gentle breeze. But then she hears it. The wind, moving through the long moss hanging from the trees, makes a soft, shushing sound. It sounds like the whole forest is whispering secrets. Shoo! SHHH. Listen, SHHH. It's beautiful, she whispers back. They play a game there, whispering their own secrets to the forest. Sometimes, Little Red whispers to a mossy branch, I pretend my cloak is a pair of wings. Sometimes, Winston whispers to a patch of clover, I practice howling at the moon, but I only do it very quietly so I don't scare anyone. They giggle together, their laughter joining the whispers of the wind. The journey feels less like a long walk and more like a wonderful adventure. As the sun dips lower, they finally see a familiar sight through the trees, a plume of sweet-smelling smoke curling into the sky. We're here, she cries. That's Grandma's cottage. They emerge from the forest and see the little cottage with its bright blue door and window boxes overflowing with flowers. They walk up the little stone path, and Little Red turns to Winston. Thank you, Winston, she says earnestly. That was the best walk through the forest I've ever had. Winston shuffles his paws, pleased but shy. I enjoyed it too, Little Red. Very much. He starts to turn back toward the woods. Wait, Little Red says. Where are you going? You have to come in and meet my grandmother. I'll tell her you're my friend. Winston looks from the cozy cottage back to Little Red, his eyes wide. Oh no, I couldn't. She'll surely be terrified of me. Nonsense, Little Red says with confidence. My grandmother is very wise. She'll see your kind heart, just like I did. Please. She looks at him with such hope in her eyes that the big wolf finds he can't refuse. He takes a deep breath and gives a small nod. Together, they walk up to the bright blue door. Little Red raises her hand and knocks gently. "Grandma," she calls out. "It's me, Little Red." From inside, a kind, crackly voice answers, "The door is open, my dear. Come in." Little Red pushes the door open and steps inside, with Winston following timidly behind. The cottage is warm and cozy, filled with the scent of dried lavender and tea. A fire crackles in the hearth, and in a large armchair, her grandmother is sitting up, wrapped in a shawl. She has kind, crinkly eyes and a warm smile. "Oh, my sweet girl," she exclaims. "I'm so happy to see you." Little Red runs to her and gives her a big hug. "I brought you some treats from Mama," she says, placing the basket on a stool. Grandma peeks inside. "Oh, apple tarts! My favorite!" Then her eyes fall on the large, furry figure standing nervously by the door. Winston is trying to make himself look as small as possible, his tail tucked between his legs. Little Red quickly steps forward. "Grandma," she says, taking Winston's big paw in her hand. "This is my new friend, Winston. He was very kind and walked with me through the forest to make sure I was safe." Grandmother looks at Winston, right into his worried amber eyes. And in them, her own wise eyes see no malice, no danger, only the same gentleness and loyalty that Little Red saw. A slow, knowing smile spreads across her face. "Well, Winston," she says warmly, "any friend of my Little Red is a friend of mine. It's a pleasure to meet you. Please, come in and warm yourself by the fire." Relief washes over Winston. He pads softly into the room and lies down on the rug near the hearth with a happy sigh. The tabby cat on the rug opens one eye, regards him for a moment, and deciding he's a friend, goes right back to sleep. Little Red unpacks the basket, and Grandma insists they all share the feast. She pours 3 cups of warm tea, and they share the last apple tart. Little Red tells her all about their adventure, the sunbeam dance, meeting the sad wolf, and all the wonderful things Winston showed her. Grandmother listens, nodding and smiling. "It sounds like a truly magical day," she says. She looks at Winston, who has now fallen asleep by the fire, a soft, rumbling snore escaping his chest. "You know, Little Red," she says softly, "the world is full of beings who may look or sound different. Sometimes they're just lonely and waiting for a friend. It takes a very wise and kind heart to look past the outside and see the goodness within." They spend a lovely, peaceful afternoon together. As the sun begins to set, Little Red knows it's time to go home. Winston wakes up and agrees it's time to escort her back. Little Red hugs her grandmother tightly. "I feel much better already, my dear," Grandma says. "Your visit was the best medicine. And you," she adds, patting Winston's big head, "are welcome here any time. The journey back through the forest is just as wonderful." With Winston by her side, Little Red feels completely safe and happy. When they reach the edge of the woods, where the lights of her own cottage are twinkling, they stop to say goodbye. "Thank you for the best day, Winston," Little Red says, giving his big, furry leg a hug. No, thank you, Little Red, Winston replies, his deep voice full of emotion. You taught me that one small act of kindness can change everything. They promise to see each other again soon. Little Red runs up the path to her home, her heart so full it feels like it could fly. She turns to wave one last time and sees Winston, a noble shadow at the edge of the woods, wave back with his tail before disappearing among the trees. And Little Red learned a beautiful lesson that day, that things aren't always what they seem, that you can't judge someone by their looks, and that a little kindness can create the most wonderful and unexpected friendships. She went to sleep that night dreaming not just of magical forests, but of her new, kind, and wonderful friend. If you enjoyed Little Red's cozy adventure with her new friend Winston, we'd love it if you gave this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe for more magical bedtime stories from our channel. We can't wait for our next adventure together. From that day on, the forest was never just a forest to Little Red, and the wolf was never a scary creature from a story. They were a place of wonder and a dear, dear friend, all thanks to one cozy morning, one special journey, and one very kind heart.